Okay, guys, I'm back. The topic for today's video is going to be what makes a good saw. Um, I've got a few out here on the floor. I don't have all my saws here. Most of them are actually in storage. So I can't do it a super justice to what I would really like to do. But I have enough of them here to where I can kind of show you. Just flip the camera around here. I have a McBrick out here that saw recoil is bad in currently. I have my 61, you guys have seen that, the 298, the 395, and my 1010. So on that note, what makes a good saw? Well, it has to run, we'll put it that way. And what I mean by that is it's got to start easy. You have to be able to start it. And if you're in a cold climate, you have to be able to start it when it's cold out. It has to idle. And it has to have enough power to get the job done. Now, we can argue about what enough power is. But say you're cutting 10-inch trees and that's your average wood size. You can get away with a 440 Husqvarna or a 435, and that'll be the best saw in the world for you. But you take that same 440 or 435 and you start cutting 20-inch firewood and up with it, and it's not, you're going to think it's a dog. You have to have the right saw for you. For most firewood, we're talking between 12 and we'll say 24 inches, and then occasionally you get above that. Between 12 and 24 inches, at least in my opinion, a good firewood saw that you can just start it and it starts easy and it idles good. It doesn't really start until about 50 cc's. You gotta understand, we're talking about bigger wood. 50 cc saw does not like 24-inch wood all the time. 20-inch wood and down is good for 50 cc's. If your wood size is 30 inches and bigger, you might want to start at 60 or 65 or 70 cc's and up. But you got to be able to start it. You can't get so big that you can't start it. Or, so much compression that you can't start it. That is my major complaint so far with my 298. I can't hardly start the thing. It's really hard to start. That's where my 395 comes into play. The compression's lower factory, and it has a decomp. So if my arm's hurting like it has been for the past couple weeks, I can just push the decomp in, and it doesn't pull over that bad. It's not that hard to start. With that 298, I pretty much have to be in the mood to run that saw to be able to actually dig it out and start it. Or actually need it, which doesn't happen that often. Most of my wood around here is 30 inches and less, and anything above 24 doesn't come around that often. I have cut 6-foot cottonwood before with my 395. I have done it. I have pictures to prove that crap. But it's not every day. I run into a big tree on average about once a year where I truly need 90 cc's. Last year it was a big maple. Well, last year I run into quite a few big trees actually. That 395 got abused. I did a fairly big elm, that big cottonwood, and a big maple all within a 7-month period of each other. And they were all over 42 inches, we'll say. The smallest one out of the bunch was the maple. or the cottonwoods that I did down by, there's a lake about an hour south of me, and they had a bunch of cottonwoods around some bottom ground that they needed taken out, so I took them out, hauled them off for logs. Just saw logs, nothing special. Anyway, get back on topic. So, the saw has to start nice. It has to have enough power for you to get your job done with it. And it's gotta idle. It can't just load up and die like some, we'll say, radical ported saws tend to do. They tend to not want to idle well. They want to just be on the throttle, on the pipe, whatever you want to call it, all the time. I don't like saws like that. My 1010 Auto, when it gets about, we'll say 85 and above, I don't usually take that saw, because when it gets that warm out, that saw likes to load up and die. And it's really annoying. It annoys the crap out of me. That is when, typically, I switch the 1010 out for my 610. I'll be honest, once I get that 610 going again, I just need to replace the recoil. I've already found one. I just have to go get it. I will probably semi-retire my 1010 Auto. I'll pull it off the shelf once or twice a year and run it, but otherwise it'll be get drained from the gas. I'll pull that bar and chain off of it, and it'll go up on the shelf, just because some of these saws are getting old enough now and have what I know to be enough time on them where they need to go into what we'll call semi-retirement, where unless I need them, they're not coming out. My 61 blacktop is going to be that way when I get done with my dad's 61 Rancher, the white top. It will be that way. I'll run it just long enough to make sure it's going to run properly, and then it'll either get drained from the gas or it'll get pre-mixed fuel in it and run once or twice a year and go back on the shelf. Both of my 61s have a lot of sentimental value to me, so they won't get run a whole lot. My 610, it's a 610. I can pick them up running for 40, 50 bucks if I'm willing to wait long enough. They're cheap, they're reliable as heck. I don't have any problems with them starting, as long as my recoil doesn't explode. My 266 is another one that it will probably, when I get the air leak sorted out, I'll run it probably 5, 10, maybe 15 tanks of gas, maybe a whole year's worth of firewood service. And then it's going to come to the semi-retirement shelf. I'm going to build some shelves along this wall over here eventually, and it's going to be my saw shelf. And one of those shelves is going to be the semi-retired saws. And my 298 is another one that's going to go in the semi-retirement pile. I just got it, so I'm going to replace the fuel line, put a longer bar on it, get it running really good, and then run it completely the heck out of gas and oil, and then it'll get debarred and go on the retirement shelf also. Just because I don't need a 100cc saw very often, about once or twice a year, and I would rather run my 395 because it's a lot newer saw, and I know it has a good top end. Like, I paid for the top end. I know how many hours are on that. I know how many tanks of fuel are on that top end. And I'm actually going to pull it down this winter and put crank bearings and seals in it, and probably a piston pin bearing just for assurance. But what makes a good saw? Back to that topic. Something that's going to start, run good, idle, and put wood in the truck. All this cut time crap doesn't matter. don't get me wrong, ported saws are fun, but when it comes to putting wood in the truck, if the saw doesn't start, you can't get wood in the truck. So my personal opinion is find yourself something that's between 50 and 65 cc's for most firewood guys, and make sure it's a complete unit no matter what brand it is. Try and get it as complete as you can get it, unless you're going with new, and then obviously you're getting a complete unit with a warranty. And just try, and if you're going to go used, know how to use a screwdriver and know when to shut the saw down. If you have an air leak, shut it down. Figure out why it has an air leak. Fix it. Because saws aren't cheap, and if you blow one up, as much money as you're going to pay someone to put a top end on it, you might as well go get another saw. Unless it's a rather large saw. Especially if you paid, we'll say, $200 for a saw, and then you blow it up the second day you have it out. You didn't make any money off the saw. Even if you're not making money off the saw, it didn't make you any of that $200 back. My personal, we'll say, if I was to go buy one saw, what I would buy, if I could find one, would be a 650 Mac. Or if you don't want to go Mac, I understand those are a lot of people won't work on them, and they are a little more finicky to attune for a general consensus. My 610 takes a tune just fine, but my 1010 is rather finicky about a tune. If you can't find one of those, I would try and find a 200 series Husky, or something, if you're going to go Echo, something like a 590 or a 620. As much as I hate to say that, because I don't like the way 590s break down. They're too much like a steel for me. If you're wanting to go big power, 066s are real good saws. I've never personally owned one, but a buddy of mine has owned one for a long time. It's real solid. 395s are real solid saws. 2100s, 298s are real solid. They're kind of hard to find. If you can't find one of those, maybe an Echo 8000, but I'm going to tell you it's going to be a dog. In my experience, they have extremely low chain speed for 80 cc's, and I think they're one of the few saws that two run good and need a port job, at least the muffler gutted. I had one. I had a Graham Black 8000, and I hated it. It didn't pull a 36 very nicely. It barely pulled it with full house chain on it. That's why I got rid of it, because I needed a big saw that was capable of running a 36. That's actually why I have this bar over here on the wall, because my 36-inch bar is actually an Echo branded Oregon bar. It's a weird driver count, but it's because it's an Echo bar. They do weird crap with their drivers. I don't know why they do that. That's what they do. But yeah, that's why I own that bar, is because of that saw. And now I don't even own that saw. I wish I would never have bought that bar. Wish I'd have just bought a large mount Husky bar and made it work on that 8000. But anything in that range of 50 to 60 cc's, and if you don't mind working on saws, a 200 series Huskies are a really good option. They are getting a little older, so make sure it's complete. If it's blown up, there's a lot of aftermarket support out there. if the cylinder's bad, just in my opinion, do the bottom end. These saws are going on 30, some of them 40 years old, in that 2 and 100 series saw range. They have a lot of time on them normally when you get them. My 61 is a perfect example. That thing is beat to crap. I actually have to put a new clutch side cover on it because the rubber flap, the dust catch, is missing, and there's a gap. All right, let me get it out here in the light where you guys can see. It's raining today, so it's a really crappy day. You guys can see that gap down there. But that gap, there's sawdust just blowing through it and blowing right in the airbox. That's actually why this saw wasn't in my truck today, because I didn't need my 395, I'll tell you that much. I could have got away with that 61 just fine. But it's just filling my airbox full of crap. And I haven't had time to source another side cover. I'll probably throw it in the truck tomorrow when I go to work and try and find a used side cover. And if I can't find a used side cover, then I will order one. I'll probably try aftermarket first. And if I don't like the aftermarket cover, like I probably won't, because I've had their aftermarket starter covers before and I threw it in the trash because I didn't like it. But if I decide I like it, I'll probably just order a whole 200 series saw from Holtz Pharma. I see they're starting to clone 272s, and I'm kind of curious whether they're worth a crap. If they're not, if they're like most of the Holtz Pharmas where they need parts added, I'm not scared to tear it back down and add parts, but I'll put it together as came. I'll probably get one of the actual orange ones instead of one of the pre-assembled blue ones. I'll just get the kit and put it together. But my dad actually bought a Holtz Pharma 288 and he likes it. He hasn't got a whole lot of time on it and the ignition died, so he's having to try and find another ignition, and he ordered one that was supposedly OEM on eBay, and I don't truly think it was OEM, so he's having to send it back and try and find another one. But we'll find one for it. If not, I'll just order a new one, because you can still get those new 288 ignitions. Sorry, I'm just digging the battery charger out. I put a new battery in my mower, and I think the battery sat on the shelf a little while, so I'm going to charge it up. Since we're actually getting some very much, it hasn't rained here in like a month, and we're finally getting some. So I will have to mow next week, because we mowed Friday, and that's the first time we've mowed in 3 weeks. But anyway, if you're looking for a good saw, I wouldn't shy away from like an old Husqvarna or an old Johnsrud or something like that. But if you're going to go with an older saw, make sure that sucker is complete. Just because, especially if it's a very old Johnsrud that doesn't have a Husky corresponding model, you're probably not going to be able to get much for parts unless you go the eBay route. Let me just mess with this cord some more. It's not wanting to work properly. Oh, don't give me that crap. But yeah, I wouldn't shy away from necessarily an older saw. You got to make sure they're complete, or as much of the parts are there that you can get. Like they all run good, if if you don't feel like you necessarily need the fastest saw in the world. 450 Ranchers are a good one. They still sell those new. I have one. I actually have a really nice 2018 model one that I need to dig it back out of storage again. It's probably going to be one of my truck saws this fall when I get to cutting a lot more. I've run it quite a bit since I got it. That was another one. I paid $5 for it. Auctions are a good place to find used saws if you're willing to go to 5 or 6 auctions and try and find the right saw for you. Otherwise, you can just go to a used saw shop and pay the markup. But if you're gonna buy one from a used saw shop, if it looks like it's been sitting there a while, it probably has. Ask if you can test it first or demo it for a day or two. I don't know how many dealers would actually let you do that, but I would probably do that. Try and just demo it and make sure that there's no, not necessarily that they're trying to sell you a problem saw, but maybe it's just sat on the shelf for 6 months with gas in it and the fuel lines went bad in the tank. You know, like little stuff like that that you don't foresee. That could cause problems for you trying to get wood in your truck. So that is probably all I'm going to do today. I cut a little bit of wood this morning because it's my day off. I am not doing much today other than sitting on a couch and letting the dogs out every couple hours because we got a new puppy in the house. So, honor little turd. Wasn't my idea. I got a baby coming first week of October. Probably, anyway. That's the due date, is October 4th. So I don't know how much content's actually going to be coming out this fall because I'm trying to get caught back up on firewood. I'm behind. Not near as far along as I would like to be. I'm going to reach out to all my reoccurring buyers that have bought from me in the past and let them know that I'm probably not going to be doing near as much firewood as I've done in the past, just because I'm having a baby and I haven't had the time with all getting the house ready for baby that I would usually be using for cutting firewood. Close this door up. I got a hornet's nest I'm going to have to take care of on my garage door. Not today, though. Ornery boogers can stay right there. But, that's probably just about all. Just, if you're going to get a used saw, my advice is make sure it's complete. And unless you're used to working on saws, probably swing a little bit newer. Just because sometimes the old saws can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, either to get running or to keep them running. But there's nothing wrong with old saws. I think we get too caught up in cookie cut times when it comes to saws. And that's all I got for today. Thanks you guys for watching. I appreciate you subscribing. Bye.